Hi, this is John McAllister, and welcome to episode 6 of the Setting Trick podcast. Today we have a two-part episode. We spend the first 45 minutes with Adam Grossack, who is not only a star in Double Dummy, but also a star in the making at the bridge table. And the second part is a talk with Morris Jones, commonly known as Mojo, who moonlights as a bridge teacher in addition to a career at Dreamworks Animation as an engineer. So, without further ado, here is my conversation with Adam. Adam, where are you today?
I'm at my Newton office, as I would say. I'm in my apartment, which I just moved into in Crystal Lake in Newton. Well, actually, the apartment is just right on the lake. So outside, it's just an awesome lake. Great day to swim. I already went for a swim today.
Nice.
And I'm just hanging.
You living with other bridge players or anybody?
Not that I know of. No, I'm just kidding. I've got a one-bedroom apartment.
So you're living on your own?
It's just myself, yeah.
Gotcha. And is Zach back from the World Youth Teams?
Yes, he just got back.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to debrief with him?
Yeah, I did. I was on the phone with him when he found out that he lost.
Oh man.
So yeah, that was pretty tough. But he's taking it well.
Yeah. How about you?
He's already. I mean, I just think that the whole team has already accomplished so much that, you know, they obviously should have won the match. It was kind of a combination of just like silliness and bad bridge and bad luck that caused them to lose, and I'm sure that they're disappointed, but they're all going to have like great bridge careers anyway, so it's just, you know, these things happen.
Right.
And they already have accomplished so much, so.
Yeah. So you were talking. So that must have been pretty. What time of day was that?
That was in the morning. It was in the fourth set, so it was like maybe like 6 or 7 a.m. Here in Boston. So they were just finishing up their fourth set against Singapore. And Zach had actually sat out in the fourth quarter, which was kind of a long story about how or why that happened. But they dropped a bunch of imps in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a text message from Hila Levy, who played on that team, the Israeli team that you guys dismantled in the fourth quarter back in 2012, and she wanted she was sort of reveling in the fact that this U.S. team had lost, having been on the opposite side of matters previously when a film was made about this very instance. So that's how I found out. And I spoke to your brother because I called her because I didn't quite get her joke. She said triple.
A little Schadenfreude. Perhaps?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, I mean she's awesome, and I don't know whether she's going to be in Croatia. I'm going to go play in a bridge tournament in Croatia, but I know that Zach has gotten to know her and her partner a little bit better too, and you know, it's bridge is supposed to be fun, you know, and it's impossible not to have fun when you're hanging out with good people and just spending time, and it's a great game too. So I don't know. It was a really tough loss for them. Obviously, they were one of the favorites, if not the favorite.
Yeah, it's too bad that we didn't get to see them and the Swedish team go head to head for the championship today. I was looking forward to that matchup.
I hear you. I agree.
And I was surprised to see USA 2 do so well as also. I didn't watch any of it online, so I
So the USA two team has some really really talented players and partnerships. All three of those partnerships I think are very capable.
yeah.
And I was not as they have a lot of heart. They play really hard and I like all three of those partnerships. So I was not totally surprised to see them doing so well. So that was a good and they almost won their match in the quarterfinals also. So that was really good for them, and I know that they were disappointed too to lose. Also, that was tough. I was watching them, and a couple of the last hands at the end. There was one very touch and go 3-no trump contract, and one hand they went for. It was just very tough stuff. I mean, that was a Cinderella team anyway. I mean, they made the they made the USA 2 squad in the last hand of the other trials where
Right.
the declare other team had the decision of whether to play for a squeeze or a finesse in the ending, and obviously went for the squeeze.
Yeah, I was surprised. When I opened up the standings, this is the first time in my limited experience with this tournament that I've seen both U.S. teams 1 and 2 qualify for the knockout phase. So that was a pleasant surprise for me. And then it was obviously disappointing when neither team advanced, but that happened. I've been wanting to talk to you for quite some time. I interviewed Zach first, partially just for a little bit of fun because I feel like I know you better. You and I played a tournament together in Iceland in January and got to spend some quality time together, not only at the table but also playing FIFA, which you
Yes.
currently the reigning title holder. But that's something that I enjoy doing with you. One of the questions that I had talked, like you and I talk on the phone sometimes, and one of the things that you had shared with me, and you said wait till my podcast episode is you get to play with Jeff Maxtroth and Eric Rodwell sometimes for regionals as their partners, and we were talking. I was asking you about system with them and how you go about putting together your bidding agreements with them, and you said let's save that for the podcast. So let's.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. First of all, that's an unbelievable opportunity that I've had to play with Jeff and Eric in regionals. They've been very generous with their time, and I'm really thankful for them. I think that they want to give back to the game of bridge. They want to help young people, and they want to help bridge professionalism in general. And I think that it's just a really good thing all around. And I work really hard when I'm playing with them to try to get at their level. So in terms of the bidding, which is what your question was, I pretty much told them that I would play anything that they wanted.
Right.
And if they gave me 100 pages of notes, I would learn 100 pages of notes. I'm not going to say like, no, Mech, no, I'm not going to do no.
Right.
Okay, no, I'll learn whatever. I will learn whatever they wanted to do. And I think it was Jeff especially just wanted to play sort of a standard system. He plays with Zia, I think in the senior events recently.
Yeah.
They just won like a Cavendish, I think. But when he plays with Zia, he plays 2-over-1. So Jeff likes playing 2-over-1. I think that they do think that precision is a superior system, but in a partnership that has like sort of like 10 to 15 pages of notes, 2-over-1 really is fine as long as we have solid agreements on what exactly we're doing. So we have had a few sessions on Skype and just on the phone going through notes. I think I started off with a preliminary draft of some like experts, what I consider to be expert standard agreements.
Yeah.
And we just went from there. and just had a little back and forth on some conventions that they like to do. They play 0-3-1-4 always.
Yeah.
You know, that's and I don't know how many of the McWellian things I can fully divulge on an open podcast, but I think it's fairly well known enough that they play 0-3-1-4 at all points.
Yeah.
No 14-30, which is not what Zach and I do, but whatever.
You switch it around a little bit?
Well, Zach and I, we play preempt Blackwood, we play exclusion, 0-1-1-2-2.
Yeah.
We play 14-30. But they're always 0-3-1-4 for all forms, even like preempt Blackwood. So at least it's good. They don't, there's no misunderstandings.
Right. But they do play 4 clubs
cool,
over like a preempt is key card, just 0-3-1-4.
No, they play that as a slam invitation, invitation plus, and it sort of facilitates some cubiting maybe before just regular 14 or 0-3-1-4. 4-0 would be like or kickback.
Yeah, because one of the things that struck me about that team, and I don't know who the client is, and there's no need to share that, but I think I don't think Mech will ever play together on that in that pairing. Is that right? They always play. One of them plays with the client, and one of them plays with you.
That's true. Yeah, we play with a very nice couple. And Eric plays with the wife, and Jeff plays with the husband. And when Jeff is playing with the husband, I play with Eric, and vice versa. I play with Jeff when Eric is playing with the wife.
So, did you get a call or an email from one of them saying, "Hey, we would like to make you a part of this team"?
I've had like multiple different. So basically, here's how my and Zach's first encounters with Jeff and Eric worked.
Yeah.
We played against them in the Spin Gold 2 years in a row. When we had kind of I think we were actually one of the years we were playing on a team with Sam Dinkin and Jank, and we had a lot of fun against them, and we played hard, and they liked us. They took a liking to us, and we were laughing while we were playing, and they liked us. They liked our tempo. They knew that like we were very ethical, and that's like very, very important to them. Just doing the right thing when it comes to card play, because there's different levels of ethical, and Zach and I sort of work really hard to be like hyper ethical, which almost like all bridge players you'd like to think do that, but they don't miss anything at the table.
Right.
And those types of things from young people, that's what they really like to see, and I think that's something that they were really happy about, and they took a liking to us. And anytime we had questions, we would ask them and try to get this. So they did a lot of. They've done so many things, and we've just like become friends even over the last couple of years. So Jeff knew that I was becoming a bridge professional after work. So I ended up contacting him, asking for advice on what what the best things to do and all that sort of stuff. And Jeff was like, actually, I may have an opportunity for you. And that's kind of how it worked.
Right. That's got to be pretty validating for you starting out as a pro to get an opportunity to play with Jeff Mextroth, who is very, very near the top. Greatest of all time. He's like very, very much in that conversation.
Oh yeah. And when I play with them, I've learned so much. I mean, the first tournament that we played in Gatlinburg, we did well. We won the tournament, and I was just like taking notes, writing down hands, like going through. I'm working really, really hard to take the advice that they give me and push it hard. And I think like the second or third tournament, one of them I had sort of a tough tournament where we didn't win any of the knockouts. And it wasn't any particular thing, but we had there were a lot of things that I could have done better, I study and I learn from my mistakes. I'm not, bridge is a very humbling game. So
Right.
I wasn't, I'm there to learn, and they know that I work really, really hard when I play, and they sort of know what I bring to the table. I'm not a perfect bridge player, but I work hard, and I'm not going to make a mistake out of laziness. And I'm constantly looking for ways to improve my own bridge game.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Well, I mean, I've said this to you before, but when we played in Iceland, it was you're one of the stars of Double Dummy, which is this documentary movie that I produced, and you and Zach really bring the game to life in a lot of ways in the film, which I really appreciate, and that complemented with your mother and the scene at your parents' home, and so I have so much gratitude for that, and I can remember playing with you in Iceland and thinking sort of that you were kind of this. I thought of you as a junior, and I wasn't really sure what level that you were going to be playing at, and it was pretty humbling for me and pretty apparent from the get-go when we started playing, like that there's not really much that you miss at the table, that you really are. I mean, like, I think the best compliment that I can pay you is that I would love to have you and Zach as a partnership to be on my team. I mean you are. I sat next to you when you played Meckwell, when you played the nickel team in Las Vegas, and I know that you guys gave them all that they could handle. And I mean, it's exciting to have a young pair like you and Zach really making waves, winning the GNT last year. I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting for me as a film producer. It's exciting for me as your friend. I'm really keen to see what you guys like, where your bridge careers take you.
Sure. And you said a lot of things there, but first of all, thank you. You paid me a lot of compliments. I do really work on my bridge game, and I think in the last few years, I've just been so immersed with like top level bridge players.
Yeah.
And just I listen and try to push my own game just to improve whenever possible. And it's everything. It's defense. It's not only it's bidding, but it's defense. I feel like where I put in the most work into improving my own bridge game, or actually the last couple of years, has just been like defending and just calculating and doing and just getting better at doing those types of things more quickly.
When you say that you work on your bridge game, are you systematic about it, or is there like, do you sit down at the end of a day or at the end of a tournament and take? You said you were writing a lot of notes when you playing with Eric and Jeff. Like, what sort of approaches do you use to try and get it? I find that it's helpful to get it out of my head and onto a piece of paper, and it's a good refresher for me to hear you say that. So can you give me some examples about how you apply yourself?
Yeah, so the easiest things that I can do are to learn from my own mistakes. So if we get bad results, and they may or may not be my fault, write the hands down, ask experts. You always give your own hand in a post-mortem to, see what you could have done better rather than your partner. It's just a sort of proper etiquette. And ask people, look at it, and just think about it in sort of an intellectual way and with an open mind to pick up little points, inferences that you might have missed before. And just there's so many really, really talented bridge players that I'm connected to that everything like that helps. All it's like sort of a liberal arts education of studying bridge.
Yeah. So I make a lot of mistakes, and I am an advancing bridge player, and I really aspire to being able to play at the highest level and be contend for. I want to contend for world championships, for major championships, but I make a lot of mistakes. And where I feel like I've been able to improve recently is that instead of being defensive or bemoaning the fact that I've made a mistake, I'm starting to just appreciate the fact that I made a mistake. It's being pointed out to me and taking it as a learning opportunity instead of being hard on myself. And they can be very simple mistakes, like very, very basic type things. But I think my attitude of not being able to accept it and being defensive about it and saying, but I think that has held me back, or getting upset that I made the mistake. So for me, I don't know necessarily that I don't know what my peak bridge ability is. I definitely am envious of somebody like you who's gotten the chance to be exposed to the junior program, and now you're playing bridge full time, and like that I don't think that will ever be my complete focus, but there are places where I can improve, and I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling on a little bit here. So, anyways, this is more about you and your.
You're good. that definitely. I just want to respond to that a little bit, though. I mean, it's really a very humbling game. I mean, I've made some horrific mistakes, and everyone makes mistakes, and they could be just like basic counting mistakes, or they could just be you're tired, or one of the things that I tell some of my clients or my students is just never stop thinking and counting and taking in new information. Every trick that goes by, every bid that's made, your opponent's tempo, just you can get an idea in your head, but just keep an open mind to a range of possibilities with every continuing trick, because things might not be as they appear. And playing with Zach Grossack has been a very, very good thing for my open-mindedness in bridge, because nothing is for sure. Did partner open a 4-card major in first seat? I don't know. Maybe let's just put that in the back burner, and maybe the shape is a little bit different. Did partner just underlead ace? Did he underlead an ace randomly in the middle of a suit contract? I don't know, but that's within the range of possibilities. I'm not going to rule it out. Did he lead low from a double? I mean, like, when you play with people that are like phenomenally creative and just like great, it's just, I'm going to work as hard as I can. If they've done something brilliant, I don't want to go ahead and collapse it. So I do put in as much possible effort as I can on every single hand and every single trick, just for bridge. I'm a hardwired for bridge, and it's fun for me. I enjoy it.
So can you give me an example of a hand where that paid off recently, or maybe one where you didn't work as hard and it was a learning opportunity?
Like even when you get down to like obvious, this is one that comes up eventually. Even when you get to obvious end positions where you see a good play and you see something. I always say when you see a good play, look for a better play.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you'll see something that's fairly clear to do, and then just always look for additional opportunities for like false cards or like something that's like equal or better to do it, and just you'll be surprised how often you'll get paid off, because people really do make mistakes. Do I have anything in specific? Not necessarily. I mean, sometimes defending you deliberately block a suit if you want to direct a defense some way. That's something that you could do.
Yeah, that reminds me of his hand in Iceland.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of different possibilities on that. I like to sometimes when you're defending contracts like 1-0 especially, or like even like low level contracts, I like to sometimes like play as I'm, like try to think about the hand like you're maybe on you're defending, but think about, like, how would I be declaring this hand if we were declaring? Like,
Right.
if we were declaring, we'd never be playing the suits in this order. But how would we be? But we're defending this way. You know, if you have a running suit, you don't necessarily cash it early.
Right.
You might want to leave your patience open between the two hands, like these types of things. Just the game is so rich, and I don't have anything very specific offhand for you, but
I know there's a scene in Double Dummy where you go to the bridge club with your mom, and it's one of my favorite scenes because it says ages 9 to 90, and you're 8 years old, and you're worried that you can't go.
Right.
Like, how old were you when you actually started, when you actually played bridge for the first time?
I was 8, and I learned when I was 8, and then I started playing tournaments, like club games when I was 9, and then I won like my first like sectional event when I was 11.
Were you ever in the running for youngest Life Master?
No. There was always, I think I was youngest Life Master in New England before some pesky old young junior beat me.
Zach?
I don't know who that was, but yeah. But I think Adam Kaplan had it for a while. I think Richard Jang had it for a while. I wasn't.
You never.
I wasn't
That was never on your
fast
radar.
at it.
That was never on your radar.
I think I was 13 or 14.
When you became a
Life
Life
Master.
Master?
I think they got it at like 11 or 12. I don't really know. Maybe 9. I think some kid was 9.
So when did you realize that you were going to be like Zach Grossack was going to be was going to be sitting across from you for the better part of your bridge playing career? How old were you when that happened?
So Zach initially was resistant to learning bridge, but not for any particular reason. It's just, it was something my mom and I played, and my older brother didn't play, and my dad didn't play. So Zach was sort of like not really that into it, but then eventually he tried it, and he really liked it.
Yeah.
And then he started playing, and then he would bid like very, 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 very by the seat of the pants, and it would just like piss me off. So I just wouldn't play with him at the beginning. And eventually he learned how to bid. I mean, he still struggles with this concept on a daily basis, but he knows that he's a very, very good bidder now. He is very creative in auctions. Sometimes arguably too creative, but he's very, very creative. So when did I know that I was going to be playing with Zach more? I mean, when we started winning a bunch, when we were younger. I mean, we just started doing very well. I mean, we grew up in the same bedroom.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we grew up in the same bedroom. We split a bedroom first, and like we've talked bridge so much. We understand bridge together. It's just we very rarely have misunderstandings about stuff. It's not really possible.
Yeah.
Because we have the same understanding.
Was there ever a time when the two of you were going to the bridge club every day together, like as many days in a row as you could, or was it different from that?
I don't know. I mean, our parents were really good about instilling balance in our lives. So, no, seriously. I mean, they were very, very good. My dad coached youth little league, and I did soccer. I played all sorts of basketball, football. So I played all sorts of sports. Not that I was good at any of them.
Right.
But I definitely played a lot. And I tried to, do social things, and I had a good group of friends in middle school and high school, and still do. In fact, I think some of them have come over to my house here already. And, but, I'm very, very blessed to have had very good parents who have just put their heart and soul into raising their kids. What
are you guys doing? Watching the Red Sox or something?
No, I don't know what they're up to right now. I think they just went outside, but we were watching dodgeball. I think was on. Oh, we were playing some cards too. Yeah, they play. My friends know how to play bridge. By the way,
Yeah.
I taught all my friends how to play bridge
Yeah.
in like middle school,
Yeah.
but we like to play. I think they like to play. Some of them like to play Barbu.
Oh,
Taught them Barbu
Barbu's a
also,
great game.
which is yeah, it's a great game, but it takes forever. So my friends are into the card games as well. I think they came to a tournament once, but they know how to play.
As players.
Yeah, they know how to play. I mean, they don't really. I mean, they've played like some club duplicates, but they don't really play that often.
Yeah. What else? What else do I want to ask you? Do you and Zach have how do you go about keeping your system notes? How often do you review that? Like, what's your?
We're actually hiring. This is a good job plug. We're looking for an executive assistant. For someone who will help us like keep our notes and like type them up and like make sure that we do like studies and we want Chip and Marty talked about how they have a change sheet. A lot of these people have change sheets.
Yeah.
Because they know the pace of their notes, but they talk about all these things and they want to know the things that they've changed recently. So that's a really important thing to do in your notes, is to have a sheet for the recent changes and put that up top with your notes. But again, for me and Zach, it's kind of like, we of course need to go through our notes, but it's these changes that we make recently that we have to really go through because we know everything already so much. And we're not making any real current drastic changes. I mean, Zach has some ideas sometimes that he wants to play this, and Zach thinks we agreed to play some things, and we never really agreed to play them. We've had a few of those. So,
Can you think of anything like from your time with Jeff and Eric where you felt like you had to get this in front of Zach so the two of you could play that?
We have adopted some of the treatments that they have for sure.
Yeah.
They play a lot of different formats of like Michaels. A lot of different situations that some partnerships have never really discussed, and they have very good explicit follow-ups for these two suited bids.
Yeah.
And I've sort of grown to have a better appreciation for these two suited bids after playing a lot with them. I mean, they bid. I just want to bid accurately when I'm playing with them, and just have what they're expecting me to have.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things playing with Peter Ferdine did for me, is that he would give me a lot of grief if I opened a marginal hand, or if I opened in third seat. Like he wanted, if I opened the bidding and they overcalled a no trump and I opened light, like I knew he was going to penalty double them, because he doesn't like light openings in third seat. So I just knew like that. Okay, well I'm gonna play completely down the middle with him. I just want to have my bid. I just want to show exactly what I had, and I think that probably helped me, because I'm not necessarily good enough that I know all the implications. I mean, I don't know all the implications of lying about your hand and or modifying your bidding, and so for me, it's important to just I'm fortunate that I'm able to play with a lot of great players, and so it doesn't make sense for me to do crazy things when playing with a great player. So anyway, I relate to that.
I agree yeah, I agree.
So what happened at the Summer Nationals? I wasn't there. I picked you guys to go further than you did. You played in the Spin Gold on the Levine team?
That's right. Yeah. We played on a team with Mike Levine, and he played with Orrin Kriegel, and we played with David Granger and Greg Hinsey, and we won a tight match out of the. So we advanced there first, and we won a tight match against the Clerkins, and they were playing with Ron Smith and Josh Don, and Luann O'Rourke and John Mohan. And we won a tight match in the round of 64 against them. And then we played Lavazza, and Zach and I played 3 of the sets against Dennis and Giorgio, and we loved it. I mean, it was awesome competition. Those guys are really, really great players, and we felt that we held our own against them.
But
that we lost against them.
Yeah.
But Zach and I were happy with how we played. The team had its chances, but they're such a good team. You know, you really have to get a lot of things right to beat them over a long match.
Yeah, I did pick you in my fantasy spin gold bracket to win that match.
That's very
by the way.
bold prediction.
By the way,
Thank you. That was.
Yeah, I was.
I
would have liked. I mean, I would have gained a lot on the field if that had worked out.
I'm pretty sure you would have. Yeah, I think I had us losing against, I don't know, either Lavazza or the next one.
I'm reluctant to do those when I'm playing in the event because I just can't not pick myself to do the whole thing. So
yeah,
I
was talking to. They did one for the trials actually. Again, they did a USBC bracket. I don't know if you saw that in May.
Yeah.
They had like another fantasy, but it was only 16 teams, and we got to the stage where we played against Meckwell, and Mec immediately told me, Adam, I saw that you had us beating you in your fantasy spin gold bracket. I definitely wouldn't want to upset you there, so good job. So that was like that. Yeah, we did lose them, so I was correct in my prediction.
When are you thinking about having a screening of Double Dummy in Newton?
I think that is something I need to prioritize because I would love to get that about December.
Okay.
Probably right after, like right before Christmas time.
Yeah.
I think would be perfect. I'm doing a ton of traveling over the fall, and that way we'll have some people back from school vacation, and most people will be around. So maybe that could be something that works.
Yeah.
Because I'm good before the Nationals. I have a lot of different regionals in Orlando, and I think that would be a good one for me.
Did you end up getting a team for the Open in Orlando?
Yes. We're playing. Zach decided to play because he was originally going to go to school, but now I think when he lost in China, he got a little. He's like, okay, I can't not win another event. You know, he's got to win at least one event every other, something. So now he's got extra motivation to win in Orlando. So we're going to that.
So who are you guys playing with?
Oh, we're playing with Jeff Juster and Steve Bloom, and possibly another pair, but unclear.
Jeff is the guy you played the trials with?
Yes.
And Steve is he's a presence on Bridge Winners, if I'm not mistaken.
He is a presence on. Steve Bloom is an excellent bridge player, and he's from New York. He plays with his wife, Betty, and they always put up great results. And I think Steve and Jeff go way back, actually. They were both considering becoming professional bridge players. And then I think the story is that Betty gave Steve sort of the ultimatum.
Yeah.
Which was he could become a professional bridge player, but then they were no longer together if he did that. So he went with Betty instead.
I don't think I've ever seen Steve at a national. Does he come to the nationals?
He goes. He's gone to a lot of New England and New York regionals. That's why I know him. And he's a super player. Him and Betty's a very good player too, and they play a club. They play like a homemade club system together, and they can be really, really good.
Is Jeff a Bostonian or is he from New York?
Jeff has lived in a variety of different places recently, but I think he's mostly based out of New York.
Well, that's going to be fun. I hope we get to play you in the event. What else do I want to ask? I don't want to ask about your love life.
Yeah, probably a little bit too public for that.
What about your mom? How's Jory doing?
My mom is great. She's the hardest working Grossack in the family. You can just ask her. You know, she definitely works a lot harder than I do.
Yeah.
But no, my mom teaches all sorts of lessons around the greater Boston area.
Yeah.
I mean, travels all around, does like 3 days. She'll do country clubs, she'll do bridge clubs, she'll do everything. She'll go to the homes of students, and she's so charismatic. Everyone loves her. So she's a great teacher. All
Thanks.
right, John, thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Good talking to you.
Bye. You too. Thank you. Bye.
And now, my conversation with Mojo. I mean, honestly, like I admire you. I obviously don't know you particularly well, but based on what I understand about you, I admire the fact that you have this. I imagine Dreamworks is a very difficult place to be hired. I imagine that you have to be high functioning, and based on what I read on your LinkedIn profile, that's the case. I mean, you have so many compliments from other people on your LinkedIn profile. It's really remarkable. But for somebody,
well, I had an interesting comment about that because I've worked for some companies that were in their last days, and it's a case like where everyone knows it. So we all go to each other's LinkedIn profiles and we give each other recommendations.
Oh my God!
It's not all bad, but
well,
I mean, you can imagine what that's like.
Oh my God, that's I don't want to believe that that's true. But I love your honesty.
Well,
I love your honesty.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't seem like people were like reaching to compliment you. Let's put it that way. It seemed like it seemed genuine.
I'll take that. I have to. Yeah.
But seriously, you are. I mean, like you work. You have what I imagine is a full-time job, and you're also teaching bridge 2 nights a week. And you're certified in the Learn Bridge in a Day. You're certified with Audrey Grant in some capacity. And you're also you're interested in astronomy. You've gotten a planet named after you and your wife. So you're a high functioning individual in my eyes.
Thank you. I've always managed to turn my hobbies into professions, and computer software started as a hobby many years ago, but it's done well for me, and bridge sort of came along, as a teenager too, but I guess teaching bridge just sort of satisfies my performance desire or what have you, but I've always taught something. And I love teaching bridge. I'm in my 9th year here in Pasadena, and I taught for a few years up in San Jose as well before that. But and for quite some time, my wife Jane did not play, and that was fine. And she had to find bridge on her own if she would. A couple of years ago, I was asked by a friend at work if I could come out to the west side of LA where they had a sort of an evening salon. They called it a night course, just a little informal gathering in the back of a coffee shop. And when she came to my desk at DreamWorks, I'm thinking, okay, what is she going to ask for? Is it going to be astronomy or astrophotography or what? She surprised me by saying, I wondered if you would come and talk to us for an hour about bridge. And I said, no, but I'll come teach you to play for an hour. How does that go? And she said, okay, fine. In any case, my wife came along on that trip. This was 2 years ago, and we took card tables and we set them up. I had probably 5 or 6 tables of just interested people who weren't sure what to expect. I think they all came in expecting a lecture or a talk of some kind, and I managed to do at least half of the Bridge Basics 1 course. That kind of, the way Audrey Grant built it does a beautiful job of sort of walking through the history of bridge. You start out teaching them to take tricks, and you get to mention whist at the time, and you get to learn about a trump suit, and then you get to come up to auction bridge, and you talk about bidding a little bit. And our walkthrough with a lot of, the fun of handling cards and turning tricks and such. It's a magical connection when people make it. And the connection was made with my wife at that time. And she turned to me on the way home and said, I want to take your beginning bridge class, which just scared the bejesus out of me, of course. I mean, the potential minefields in that are treacherous. I knew that, I can't say, well, you should probably read this card instead of this card without her hearing, you're a terrible human and I hate you. But we managed, I mean, we talked about that and worked through it. And she's become a regular player now in my game. She's a new player. She's collected a couple of master points and is ready to travel with me to tournaments and is getting her own partners. We've played together, of course, but she's finding her own way through bridge, and that's how it has to be, and that's what's working great for us.
Well, that's it. I was curious about that. So you intuited that.
Well, I was teaching class I was just one at a time, just one night, and I was just teaching. I would play occasionally. I would binge once in a while at a tournament, but I did not want to make Jane into a bridge widow if I could help it. And when she took up the game herself, it sort of enabled some things. I started proposing to her that I had this thought of opening a bridge club on Monday nights or something like that. And she actually got all excited about it. And it just sort of enabled that to grow into sort of the next phase, if you will. So in all of these years of teaching, I haven't had a club to feed students into aside from the local bridge clubs, the Arcadia Bridge Center, and so forth. And that's fine. That's been fine. But having my own bridge clubs, I could sort of tailor it to what I knew or what I would have hoped for as a new bridge player myself. And I sort of set it up to serve a different market from the local full-time bridge club, which was very casual. It was shuffle and deal beforehand. It was travelers going around with the boards. It was destroy the evidence at the end so nobody knows what happens. And I wanted to make a club that would prepare students. The other thing about this club is they're very protective of their people. You would never learn about local tournaments or other games or anything like that by visiting this bridge club, which I understand. It's a business decision, but my goal was to actually take these people and feed them into the tournaments and the other games. In my mission statement, I wanted to make bridge players who were comfortable and confident playing at any table anywhere in the world.
Right.
Because that's part of the beauty of bridge is traveling somewhere, looking up a bridge club and dropping in and playing and discovering all these friends that you didn't know you had yet.
Right.
And it's not that you're going to play well or do well. That's sort of secondary. Sure, you'll enjoy the game and you'll get better at it as you play, but just the ability to sit down and confidently play bridge anywhere in the world, that's a valuable thing. And so my game so I tried to set up everything I could for players to enable them to get better at the game if they wanted to, and to just learn to deal with the modern things of the game. The local bridge club, for their newcomer games, for instance, they didn't even put bidding boxes out. So, when I teach classes, my beginning players are going to come in tonight, and the first thing they're going to see is a table with 4 bidding boxes on it and a bridge board in the middle. And I got bridge mates, and I use pre-dealt hands, and I have online results, and people get to compare their results after the fact, and they can see where they could improve and where they didn't. And it's not that they're going to do this, but I'm at least enabling them to do it if they want to. And I also my target audience is not retired people. It's working adults. I'm trying to, of which I am one myself, which doesn't hurt. But
you're a good archetype.
I want to catch. I want to catch the people before they're starting to think about retiring, because as I tell my students sometimes, this game is so great, you're going to wish you started sooner.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm doing that. I think I'm catching people, while they're still maybe 10 or 15 years away from retiring, and I'm offering them an evening bridge game that's not a full-length bridge game. I'm only playing 14 boards, and it works out great. The other thing is, instead of having a little lesson before the game, I decided I would take the hands and hold a post-mortem after the game. And I have a computer projector, and up on the screen I can put any of the 14 boards we played that night, and we can talk about them. I also did something that I think is done for the first time. Web movements are all the thing now in the full-length clubs. Of course, you can get web movements for any section size these days, but they're all expecting you to play 26 boards or so.
Yeah.
And last January, Audrey Grant invited me to come out to her Sea Island Bridge Festival and direct games for her. We'd been running into each other at nationals here and there, and a lot of her and several of her bridge seminars and things, and we got along pretty well. And it was a surprise for me, and I had just developed web movements in ACBL score for 14 board games, 7 rounds of 2 boards apiece. I had never played them before, so I wasn't sure if they worked or not, but I had the movements in my machine. And when I had proposed to David Lindop, her husband and partner, I said, I have these movements. So we were going to have about 27 tables of students at a bridge festival. Yeah. And I said, we could try this if you like. And David, he very wisely said, let's just keep it simple. Just put out Mitchell movements and we'll be fine. And then later on, Audrey and I were sitting down and talking about our plans for the festival and the games and such. And I broached the subject again with her. I said, I have these movements that would allow everyone in the room to play exactly the same 14 boards, but it's a little bit untested. And she got all excited about that because she realized that they could put a board up on the screen and there would not be anyone in the room who could say, we didn't play that board. Right. And so she got excited about it, and it had a lot of other advantages too. We get to print hand records on just one side, for instance, little things like that. So I set up the first one with 3 sections. I had a 7 and an 8 and an 8 or something like that. I figured out that I would need 6 sets of boards potentially, 1 through 14, in order to cover all the possible combinations of however many students showed up to play that day. Yeah. Now, the problem was David Lindop had brought 1 set, 1 through 36. I had brought, he had brought 2 sets. I brought 1 set, 1 through 36. We had 3 board sets, 1 through 36. And so how are we going to do this? So what I did was of those 3 sets, I took the second half of them, 17 through 36,
Yeah.
which are identical to 1 through 16.
Yeah.
And we found some labels and marked them up as 1 through 16 instead. So we split the 3 sets into six little arts and crafts projects before. But we played 6 games. Everybody played exactly boards 1 through 14, and I've been doing that on my Monday night game ever since. And every once in a while, someone notices. But web movements are kind of it's a wonky thing. It's sort of the only thing that you'd be interested in if you were a bridge director. But when you see it happening, this is weird. I'm not expecting this board right now. Why am I getting this? But at the end of the night, if I've got 8 tables, 9 tables, 15 tables, whatever, everyone plays exactly boards 1 through 14, and they have the same boards up. What was cool about at the Bridge Festival, we could have 27 boards in play, 27 tables in play, everybody playing boards 1 through 14 in web movements. You get to the end of the round, top on a board was 26, right?
Okay, yeah.
Top on every board was 26. And I mean, you talk about having good comparisons in a bridge game. The scores were great because every board was played 27 times.
Right.
So the top on a board was 26.
Huh.
And it was all 2 board rounds. I mean, anyway, it was a little bit of magic. And Audrey came to me afterwards and she said, I have this feeling that I just saw something historic. I said, I don't know if I would say that or not. But I think I can say with confidence that no one has ever done this before. How did you
develop the movement?
There are papers. There's the best paper out there on the subject of the web movement. I forget who the author is. I believe he's in Boston at the MIT Bridge Club. The web movement was developed in the 70s by a director in Texas named John Harris, who went by the nickname of Spider. And he loved tinkering with movements. I even ran into somebody who once played at Spider Harris's Bridge Club. And Spider, he was known for not caring what his players thought. He would experiment with this movement anyway. And he came up with ways to have players play every board and not skip any. And that was the key.
Yeah.
They started being used at some tournaments, at high-level tournaments where you needed to have, say, a one-winner movement or something like that. But they were very difficult at the time because you had to have exact duplicates of board sets, and the boards had to be twinned. And doing that by hand is very time-intensive. So his movements kind of sat on the shelf for several years. What really made them practical was 2 things. One was duplicating boards. The Playbridge Dealer 4, which I bought one of those about 4 years ago and started using it for classes. That makes it really easy to make multiple sets of exactly the same boards.
Right.
The other is the electronic scoring, the bridge mates, because when the bridge mates know the players and the boards that are expected for the next round, you have an extra level of check in there. You know, whoever's sitting north, they get to say, "Oh, I have boards 13 and 14 now, and here they are. I've got the right ones. So I've got the right players." So those 2 things really made the web movements practical. And I saw my first one about 3 or 4 years ago at a Christmas game where a rather adventurous director came to our unit game where we had 20 tables. And rather than set it up as 2 sections of 10, he set it up as a web movement where we all played 26 boards and everyone played the same 26 boards. And I just became fascinated with it at the time. So I started studying it. And I went through the math of it from this paper, and I decided, well, what would it be for 7 rounds of 2 boards or 14 boards? That, I think, is it's the ideal workday evening game. It's a couple hours of bridge, and you can go home. It's not a good duplicate game just in terms of raw duplicate, but I mean, we're all accustomed to playing 12 board games on Bridge Base Online.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there is an element of chance to it. I mean, every board has more significance than it would if you were in a 26 board game. A top does better for you and a bottom hurts you more, that sort of thing. You have less chances to make up for mistakes. But it's still a valid bridge game, and you get to compare your results on 14 boards. You get good comparisons. It's not like where you have a HAL movement where the top on a board might be 3. You get to compare with everyone in the room instead of just your section, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm doing some things that I don't think many other bridge clubs are doing, and I think my target audience of newer players, they're not necessarily aware of it.
Yeah.
To them, it's just a bridge game.
Yeah.
But
is it web like
W?
Is it web like proper name? Is that somebody's proper name, or is it just
no WEB? It's the nickname just comes. The web movements are they're named after Spider Harris.
Right, spider web. Gotcha. And it sounds like you're moving. Pairs aren't moving from table 1 to table 2, or is that?
Well, part of the beauty of the web movement is that the east-west pairs move up and the boards move down, just like in a normal Mitchell movement. One interesting thing is if you have 10 tables, for instance, an even number of tables, there's no skip.
Right.
You end up crossing a boundary where there are sort of 2 rivers of identical boards that are in circulation. And if you're paying attention, which is kind of rare in a bridge player, sometimes they don't notice anything that's going on around them except for the 13 cards from the last hand, right? If you're paying attention, you might notice that when you move from one table to the next, the color of the board's changed. And the other thing that people notice right away is sometimes they'll call me to the table on the first round when they say, Mojo, this doesn't make sense. I put in the result for this board and it tells me I've got a 50%, but we're the first ones to play it. How could that be? Or I got 100%, right? Because how could that be? How can there be another result? Well, what I have to explain to them, well, there's a duplicate copy of this board that's in play somewhere else in the room, and you're both playing it at the same time. And that's how it works out. But it solves so many problems. There's so many awkward movements that just become great with the web movement. 11 and a half tables, for instance. What do you do with 11 and a half tables? Well, you do a web with 3 board rounds, and everybody plays boards 1 through 27, and it comes out perfectly. But I've just fallen in love with it. They take a little more attention from the director, and a lot of club directors haven't delved into that so far.
Right.
The support for it in ACBL score is a little bit minimal. It will support 13-round games with an even number of tables, but if you have an odd number of tables, you have to use an external movement. Of course, all of my special movements are external movements because I'm playing seven-round games. But that's my game. That's the Bridge Mojo Bridge Club in San Marino on Monday nights.
So, are people in that game? Are you not? Is that? I know that you kick students out after they become Life Masters, and maybe that's a harsh way of putting it. But is that game limited to non-Life Masters?
It is limited to non-Life Masters, and it is how I put it. I even put it in the mission statement. You know, my goal is to help you make non-Life Master and then kick you out of the game. But I'm looking for a place to, it's a sad irony of Bridge that the reward you get for doing well is that you can't play in as many games as you used to. When you're a new player, you can play anywhere. You're welcome to come play. You're welcome to come enter the Rising if you want. But once you've got 1,000 master points, well, they don't want you at this club down the street. They figure you're there to, take the master points from our new players. And I understand that, but it's sort of an unfortunate way of rewarding people for doing well.
Well, that doesn't seem like what you're doing. It seems like you have a very concentrated focus on newer players, and I think that's important that you're graduating people up to the next. And I'm sure you're not leaving them. I'd be surprised if you're leaving them just wisping in the wind. I imagine you're giving them all sorts of different options, like you said earlier, about games beyond the scope of your game when they're ready for that.
Well, Chris, this is my first bridge club. It's sort of my second bridge club. I had one up in San Jose, but my intent is to expand this. I am about a year from retirement myself, so I will open more games, and I will have open games and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I will have other places for them to go. But for now, the Monday night game, oddly enough, I am stratifying it, and the lowest strat is 0 to 20, and the next one up is 0 to 100. And right now, roughly 40% of my players are in that 0 to 20 group, so they are truly newcomers. And that's what I like. The other part of my mission statement is that I want to make players who are comfortable playing against a broad variety of experience levels. And I realize that when I restrict the game to non-life masters, it's not that broad a variety. You're not going to go up against a lot of precision bidders and that sort of thing. But it's a start. And if I can instill in them good card habits, just little things like making the opening lead face down and being careful about just learning to play bridge the way we know it, the formal game, the game that's kind of my emphasis. A lot of my postmortem topics have been not necessarily bidding problems, which tends to be where the focus is. Everyone's focused on that. But often it's about etiquette and the laws and how to deal with things like revokes and how to deal with things like leads out of turn and what your rights are as dummy, for instance. Little things like that you often won't get. I mean, you'll get them secondhand,
right?
If you go to a good bridge club, but it's things that are worth talking about. And so those are. But sometimes I'll focus on that. But then a lot of times it's just, oh, look at this interesting hand. Half of you ended up in hearts and half of you ended up in diamonds. Let's see why that was. That sort of thing. That's the story of the Monday Night Bridge Club, Bridge Mojo.
So you're starting a beginner class, you said, and I think that's tonight. This is Wednesday the 5th.
That's tonight.
So that will they be playing hands, or is that Monday night is play and Wednesday night is teaching?
For the moment, that's exactly the case. I'm teaching my class through a local community college, Pasadena City College. They have an extension program where they offer evening classes for adults. Most community colleges have that. And so offering classes through a community college extension program is not a business plan because they don't pay you very much, regardless of how many students come in. It doesn't matter to me, though, because when they come into the class, I collect all their email addresses. So I have marketing for future classes and games. And over the summertime, I'll set up my own classes. I'll rent some space and I'll get plenty of people to come. And this time it's my class. It's not the college's class. But the thing that they'll do is they've got their catalog, and by being in their catalog, it lands in all the mailboxes in Pasadena and it attracts students. So that's invaluable to me. So it's just initiating that contact that I need. And a Bridge 1 class is always a little scary. You never know who's going to come in, how much experience they have. A lot of them, it's usually going to be a pretty broad range. A lot of people who took it up as kids when their parents needed a fourth, or used to play it 30 years ago and haven't touched a card since. And everyone is different, but that's part of the adventure. And I have one starting tonight. I had room for 6 tables, and I had 5 people on a waiting list. And
Wow.
I'm folding up a 7th table to bring in, and so I'll have 7 tables of beginning players tonight.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I used to teach the ACBL curriculum. It was Bridge in the 21st Century. It was called the Club Series. It was what I first cut my teeth on back in the 90s when Audrey and the ACBL were still partners, and she developed the club, the Diamond and the Heart series for them. And they went their separate ways, and she developed her own curriculum, the Bridge Basics curriculum. And I went to get accredited with that and study with Audrey for a weekend, and just fell in love with it. So it's exciting. It's up to date. She's always got the best technical people working with her, and I think it's the most fun for the students. So I very much rely on the expertise of people who write these curriculums.
Right.
Take them into the classroom and just try and present it as best I can.
So what will be your
that'll
lesson?
happen tonight.
What will be your lesson tonight? What will you teach them?
Following suit. Turning tricks. It starts with that. It's as simple as that. We start with whist. Let's play a hand. Let's shuffle and deal.
Yeah.
Let's play a hand of whist. Now let's play a hand with a trump suit and learn what that is. And now let's change it up a little bit. Let's build a hand with the King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9 of spades, and the Ace of Hearts, and nothing else, and say, so now if this is your hand, what would you lead from it? Okay. You and I know, right? Lead the King of Spades.
They love taking those tricks. They love taking those winners.
Yeah. Right. They love taking. Hey, I can win this trick now. So I have to bring up. Bridge isn't about winning this trick. It's about winning the most tricks.
Right.
Work through that. In the first lesson, we get lead from the top of the sequence, and here's why. And if your partner wins a trick later, return your partner's lead. Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we start. And then we introduce the dummy, and we play a little auction bridge. We don't even talk about bidding game or scoring and that sort of thing.
Oh, that's
we'll play
smart.
some auction bridge. I've got some pre-dealt hands, and we'll talk about how one side has to commit to winning most of the tricks, and so on.
That is very smart.
And then we introduce the dummy at that point. So it becomes a historical walkthrough, whist-based games, if you will.
Right.
And so it's kind of entertaining for that.
I've taught some bridge.
And next week,
sorry, go ahead.
No. Next week it'll introduce contract bridge and responding to one-note trump. That sort of thing.
Because I've taught some bridge and I've taught whist as a start, but I never considered doing auction bridge, and that's brilliant because it's you give them the benefit. I mean, that really is smart because you give them the benefit of scoring their tricks without having to. Like I don't like it when my students they've languished in 3 hearts. And it hadn't occurred to me that I should just give them credit and say, "Hey, this is auction bridge." That makes total sense.
Yes. And now a lot of teachers have been using this concept of mini bridge. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I'm familiar with mini bridge.
I have not used it or played it myself.
Really?
I've heard comments from some people that mini bridge itself becomes entertaining enough that nobody wants to move on to contract bridge. But I understand it's an interesting concept, and her structure for classes 2, 3, and 4 are kind of interesting, where we study some hands, double dummy, and count the points in the partnerships and decide how high and where the contract should be. And then play the hand. So there's no bidding. And then in the second half, we come back to the same hands and we talk about, well, now let's use the bidding ladder and work out how you could work with your partner to come to the same answer, how high and where. And that works out pretty well.
So do you establish like 25 high card points per game? You just put that out there, or how do you decide?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
Okay.
8 card fits, 25 high card points. You got that big game, and that's the how high decision, and the where decision is based on, do we have a trump suit or not? Is it a major? Is it a minor? All the regular things. And then we go through it's a 4-week class in that regard. And then I always do 6 weeks if I can. And week 5 and 6 are all just playing hands, and they're all pre-dealt. They're hands that fit the lesson plan. But rather than teach them new things, let's exercise the skills we've got. Let's play 8 hands today, and then let's play 8 hands next week, and then that'll be the end of Bridge Basics 1. So I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
And do you have?
And then meanwhile, I've got a bridge club, and I can invite them. Hey, come down on a Monday night. Come after the game starts, so I won't rope you into playing. And then I'll sit you behind someone, and you can watch how this really works in the real world. And that's been a popular thing. People take to it. That's
smart. One of the best things I've taught some bridge, and then I've been an assistant to a local woman who teaches professionally, and she's pretty successful at it. And I think one of the best things that she did was she had the beginners on the last night of the beginner class play with the non-life masters in a game. And so each of the beginners got partnered up with a non-life master. And the non-life masters were able to explain concepts, and it was kind of like it wasn't that formal of a game. So the non-life masters were able to explain concepts to the beginners, and it was really I played with one of the beginners, and it was really interesting to see the non-life masters be able to I felt like it was good for them because they got to explain concepts, and they could show what they've mastered, and they also were able to put it in terms that the beginners could readily understand. It was really
yes.
Yeah, there was some real value in that.
I think so. It can't be avoided, really. If you start playing bridge, you're going to be introduced to concepts that you've never heard of before. And I recently read Edward McPherson's book, which came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The Backwash Squeeze and Other Improbable Feats, which was a newcomer's journey into bridge. I had not discovered the book at the time. I was on a little bit of a hiatus from bridge, but I just finished it, and it was a lot of fun seeing how he saw all these odd concepts that were beyond him at the start, and how you kind of know they're there, but you can't really deal with it now. I'm still trying to decide if I should trump this suit or not, trump this trick or not, or I'm still trying to decide if I should play my ace or not. It's you have a student says I hate having aces because I never know if I should play it now or later. I can't figure it out, But there, the game of bridge is so deep. I struggle when I see at a regional we had in Long Beach. I don't know if I should say this or not, but they offered a free lesson for new players at the first day of the tournament, and it was going to be given by a local Grand Life Master.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. I met this person later on at the table in a pro-am game. And she says, I can't believe these new players. What are these teachers teaching them? None of them know Jury. They don't know Cappelletti or Hamilton. How can you possibly play without Jury and Cappelletti? And I didn't say anything at the time, but it was just, my God, the deep concepts that you have to master in order to understand why you even need Jury, why Cappelletti matters, the brain load on that's 3-4 years away. Get them into the game and playing, and those things will come. But you don't need those to go into a bridge club and have a game.
Right.
Well. So we're going to screen Double Dummy.
I know you are such
Pasadena.
You are my first customer in that. Well, actually, not really. You're my first Tugg customer that's doing the screening in this fashion.
You've got 2 or 3 more now, right?
Well,
Cities are
this is the first time. So this is the first time that tickets are available to the public in this way, like that you have to sell enough tickets in order for the screening to happen. We've had a screening. We've had a couple paid screenings. One was in Scotland at Stirling University. Georgia Tech, they're screening it tomorrow. And then, we screened it twice at the NABC, which you attended both of those, which is...
I did.
I am curious to... I mean, that is like... What can I... Do you mind if I ask? Like, how come you went and saw it again? Did you walk out the first time?
No, not at all. Because I'm playing with my partner the next day, and I said, who hadn't seen it, I said, listen, you've got to see this. Aww. And so I went with her. I said, we got to see it. So I sat through it again. It's as simple as that.
Right.
My partner didn't get to see it. Right. So I said, come on, you've got to see this.
Right.
And she agreed. It was a treat. I have another fun story about that tournament in Toronto. I was there by myself, and I was in. Audrey Grant was holding a seminar for a couple of days just off the tournament site. So I had just spent a full day with her conference, and then went back, had dinner at the hotel, and I thought I'd go back to the tournament and see if I could pick up a partner to play in the side game in the evening. So I'm walking along towards Rogers Center, the convention center.
Yeah.
And I notice all of these people start kind of walking along with me in the same direction. And they're all sort of wearing blue jackets and blue caps. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there's a ball game. And I said, forget bridge, I'm going to the baseball game. And I went to watch the Blue Jays play the A's for the evening. That's not the end of the story, though, because I get out of the baseball game, which is right next to the Rogers Center, is right next to the convention center. Yeah. So I walk back over to the tournament where Scott Campbell is setting up for the midnight zip knockouts. And I said, Scott, I'm here. He paired me up with Dan Storch from the ACBL, their publicity chairman.
Oh, yeah,
He's
sure.
Just a delightful fellow. Yeah, and Dan said, listen, I brought a bottle of Malbec here, so we're good. And Dan and I had a couple of pickup teammates. Yeah. I no idea who they were. It didn't matter. But in the game were a lot of the kids from the youth bridge NABC that was going to go on the following weekend. In fact, that whole tournament was full of kids, and it was delightful to see.
Yeah.
And Dan and I managed to win the first 3 matches, and we got to the 4th with our teammates. And sure enough, I'm sitting down at the table against Zach Grossack from Double Dummy.
Right.
And and he gets into a bad 3-no trump contract, and I set him, Yeah. And Dan looks across the table at me, and he says, do you know what this would mean if I got to go back to work on Monday and tell him I beat Zach Grossack in a knockout? Of course, that 3-no trump board was the only good one we got in the round.
Oh, man.
So we didn't get to say we beat Zach Grossack, but we played him in the final of a knockout. So what if it was the midnight zip knockout, and it was 6 boards and everybody was drinking beer and wine? It didn't matter. But it was just a great cap to the tournament. So, and having seen Zach, I did not know of Zach and Adam and all of his compatriots until I actually saw Double Dummy.
Yeah.
And so sitting down against him at the table was a real treat.
I remember at the first screening we did in Toronto, I sat in and watched it, and I had several people come up to me and encourage me and offer me encouragement before the film. And I was sitting there pretty close to the front, and I'm watching it, and I'm just like, oh my God, this movie is so long. It's so, oh no, it's so slow. And people are laughing. Like, it was received well. And about halfway through, there was a scene where Adam and Zach were arguing with each other, and the audience is laughing. And I finally got the nerve up to turn around, and I turn around and I see Zach dying laughing, and I was just like, oh my God! And it was such a relief, because I've spent so much time, and I continue to spend so much time with that movie, that to have one of the main characters enjoy it like he has, and Jory still hasn't seen it. Actually, their mother, she still hasn't seen it. So we're hoping to do a screening in Boston in December. Yeah, she texted me the other day saying, "When are we going to do this screening?" And I'm like, "Talk to Adam."
Yeah.
So
I know you've had recommendations and suggestions. Just put it on YouTube. I think what you're doing is actually pretty valuable, of screening it in theaters, having people invite friends and family to come see it, which is what's happening in my case. I know that a lot of people are seeing the trailer. The trailer sells the movie beautifully, and people are showing it to their family members who, why don't we go see this? And it becomes an event. And it's not like sitting in front of your computer and screening on YouTube for an hour. So I know eventually you'll end up having to do something like that. But for now, let's do what you can with it this way and see how it goes. I know you put a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and money into this movie. So I'm happy to help if I can and get this thing in front of some people.
Well, I really appreciate your saying all of that, because it does feel like a really good, I worry about just putting it out there on computers, and people, I know what it's like when I'm on my computer. I mean, it's very easy for me to get involved in something, but making a commitment to go to a theater with somebody and sitting there. And one of the things that people, like bridge teachers, for example, they're like, well, why don't we just have it at our club? And I'm like, no, I don't think that's a good idea, because I don't think people, non-bridge players, I mean, bridge players are comfortable at bridge clubs, but non-bridge players going to a bridge club to watch a movie, I mean, they're not going to be comfortable. I think it starts things off. I think going to a theater starts things off on the right foot, and then people are in an environment where they feel comfortable, and then you can really start to explore this world. And it's not for everybody, bridge. I mean, but I love it. My life would be completely lacking if it weren't for my experience, the experiences that I get to have, and the friendships, and the competitive element, and the play. It's just such a, like, I hadn't played live bridge, not, like with other people, in over a month, and I went and played a tournament in Santa Clara last week, and I had so much fun. It was just so much fun to be in that atmosphere. So I really love it.
It is precious. I've enjoyed. I tell my beginning bridge players and students, who say, you want to have the best time of your life, make plans to go to the Nationals. And they think I'm crazy, but you go to the Nationals and you see not just a small novice newcomer game, you see a ballroom full of them.
Right.
And it's a magical experience. You get the vendors with the books and making name tags and badges, and the speakers and the talks and all of that. So, not many can be convinced. I remember at the end of Backwash Squeeze, how he had to talk his new player partner into going to Chicago to the Nationals. But you get there and it's this magical environment. You're suddenly surrounded with your people. You hear bridge talk everywhere and those things. And it is great. It's not necessarily, like I say, it's not that you're going to do great necessarily, but we know bridge is a numbers game. The more you play, the more good results you're going to get eventually. So that's where you get to have the fun. So I try and bring that joy to my players if I can. I have a motto for my bridge club. It's play with joy, humility, and good humor. I truly think bridge is high comedy, and it's at its funniest when things go horribly wrong and you get a 1400. And if you can accept that in life and move on from it, then you're a winner. That's a big deal.
Yeah, like I had this woman. Last time I played at the local bridge club here in Charlottesville, this woman, she went down and she made some bad play, and we were talking about it like after the hand. And I said, "What were you thinking about at the time?" And she said, "I was thinking about my grocery list." And it was kind of like, well, maybe. But she got it, like it was instructive for her. It was instructive to see that, and I wasn't. I mean, we were laughing. We were good there. Like that good spirit is really. It makes it, like you said, it makes the bad results so much more stomachable, because you have to take things in the right light in order, because people can get really serious at a bridge club. I mean, they get really like their nose out of joint about some seemingly small things, but that's why it's important that you're teaching people. I think the etiquette and the rules of the game, so that like I had an example where I'm helping start a bridge club at my high school. And the teacher who's sponsoring the club had watched the film, but he was totally intimidated by the bidding boxes. And he had played bridge before, and I could tell. Like he was like, "What are the like?" And I felt like this. He had said that he wanted to help sponsor, but it seemed like it could have gone either way. Like if I had said, "Oh, the bidding," that's really easy. I think I could have turned him off, but instead I could appreciate his worry, because it looked complex, and then explain it in that light, and appreciate where he was coming from, because it's easy as someone who's played a lot of bridge to sort of belittle things when they seem intimidating, but I think that's the quick way to lose a student. Yeah,
you have to embrace that. The latest thing with me and my players is trying to. I see it more. I've been having some stack games, sectional tournament at clubs, and I've been opening them up a little bit higher to 750 master points. And so I've had 2 or 3 life master pairs come in to play and get silver points in the stack game. And I think it's a little spice for my bridge players. Say, here's what it would be like to play in a Gold Rush pairs at the regional, which are open to 750. So we only do it once in a while, but why not? The way to combat a fear is to face it.
Right. Yes, definitely.
But the thing that I've been getting on partnerships and my players about are pointing out your partner's mistakes. One of the things that took me a long time to realize when I got the rare opportunities to play with very good players, much more experienced than I was, is that during a game, I virtually never knew how I was doing, because I would never get approval from my partner. I would never get correction from my partner. Right. I would never get anything from my partner. Right. Other than, let's move on to the next hand. Right. We can talk about it later, but let's move on to the next hand. And so I have some players who are relatively new to Flight B, if you will. Yeah. Who are obsessed with pointing out their partner's every mistake. And then they wonder why their partner doesn't do better. Right. Yeah. And so my philosophy has come to this: is that, all right, every time you feel the urge to point out one of your partner's mistakes, calculate how many match points it's going to cost you on the next board. Because you're not going to do as well. Right. Yeah. So I'm going to try. That's my current crusade, if you will.
Well, what about before we finish up here? Can you share us a little bit of what the culture of Dreamworks is like?
Oh my goodness. DreamWorks was an amazing company. We're working on our next movie. It'll come out in March. It'll be How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Yeah. I've been kind of fortunate. I'm a techie. I'm an R&D computer guy, but I work on software that is used by the artists and the technical directors to organize all the sequences and the cuts. And,
Yeah.
I mean, the logistics of putting together a feature animation film is huge.
Yeah.
So I've had the privilege of getting to watch some of this work in progress, of seeing how it progresses from the rough layout stage through the animation, through lighting, and things like that. To produce, for instance, when The Incredibles 2 came out, we had to present a trailer that was going to run ahead of Incredibles 2, and that meant that basically we had to actually complete segments of the movie that would go into the trailer. And it's not like that if we can go out and take some of the principal photography that we've done on a live action movie and patch it together into a trailer. We had to actually create the scenes. But the trailer itself is fantastic, but in seeing the scenes that were done in progress, I'd be sitting at my desk and I looked at a few of these scenes, and I was grateful for having a box of Kleenex on the desk because it was so good. I'm just crying, bawling my eyes out at the desk. I think this is one of the best ones we've done. But DreamWorks we've put out a lot of good movies. I've enjoyed seeing all of them. Maybe one or two were clunkers, but our last one was Captain Underpants, and before that was The Boss Baby, and before that was Kung Fu Panda 3. And we had when our founder was Jeffrey Katzenberg. He worked for Disney. He was famous for producing The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast when Michael Eisner was in charge of Disney. And he and Eisner had a famous falling out, and Jeffrey was fired and got a chunk of money in a breach of contract lawsuit afterwards. And he got together with Steven Spielberg and Robert Geffen, and they made DreamWorks SKG, Spielberg, Katzenberg, Geffen. That company later split into two companies, DreamWorks Pictures, which still makes live action movies with Steven Spielberg, and DreamWorks Animation, which was run by Jeffrey Katzenberg, and they're traded separately on the stock exchange and all that.
Gotcha.
And so DreamWorks Animation, their sole focus was making feature films, and they did about 20, more than that, over 20 years. And 2 years ago, Jeffrey arranged a sale of DreamWorks Animation to NBC Universal. So we're now a division of NBC Universal, and he's gone on to other adventures. But we still have the same campus in Glendale. If you fly out early enough, I'll come have lunch with me at the DreamWorks.
Oh, I would love that.
Walk around, and
I will do that for sure.
It's a fantastic visit. You can't take any pictures inside because there's all this magnificent concept art on the walls, and it's a magnificent place. They do have a commissary lunch, breakfast and lunch are free, so we come in and they feed us. And the campus is sort of carved out of a little chunk of Glendale near the freeways, near the 134 and the 5. Katzenberg found the only chunk there that wasn't owned by Disney, I believe. We're surrounded by Imagineering and ABC, and there's nowhere for DreamWorks to grow, but it doesn't need to. We've got 5 buildings on the campus and about 1,500 people working there. And it's a beautiful place to go work, and I'm going to miss it. But I am planning on retiring sometime in the next year and going full time with Bridge. So there you go.
So teaching,
So
are you going to play? Are you going to play, or definitely? Can we do it on the 18th?
Yeah.
Or okay, let's do that. So are you going to play, teach, a little bit of both? Do you ever hire? I'm a client, so.
Oh, all of the above. I'm a pretty good player. I'm a Ruby Life Master. I'm a solid Flight B player.
Yeah.
I haven't, I think when I get more time to play, I would love to, collect a few platinum points here and there if I can.
Right.
I've got a dribble of them now, but teaching and directing are great. I I want to get in and play more. I do play a lot of Bridge Base Online. I love the robot games.
Yeah.
But I've actually improved my bridge a lot in those robot games. The ability to go in and see how other people bid hands that did better than I did, or how they played them and did better than I did, is a real value. But I do love to play, and I do still get my play in binges, if you will. I'll go to a regional or a national.
I think there's one in your area this
wife,
week. Isn't there a regional in your area right now?
Yeah, after class tonight, in fact, I'm going to drive out to Costa Mesa where District 22 has their Orange County Regional, and I've got a game tomorrow with a friend. So we're going to play in the open pairs for a day. But that's my only day there. And actually, I'm going to play in a side game with Jane on Friday. It's her birthday, and that's what she wanted to do.
Wow.
I'm just tickled as it could be. I know.
Sure.
So we'll play a side game in the morning and then have a nice birthday dinner in the evening, and hopefully it'll be good. So there is a regional, and I think my next trip we'll both be retired by the time Memphis comes around in the spring, and I'm planning to go full out there if I can.
Well, that was my first. That was
game.
my first full-on NABC. Was Memphis in 2012. That's when I got the idea. That was right when the idea for Double Dummy came. So maybe you'll be making a movie about bridgers.
We'll see. I don't know how I'm going to make my mark on bridge, but I'm content to act locally and do the best I can with Pasadena City College and make a few new bridge players. But I really think bridge is poised for takeoff. I don't think it's. I know we heard the clip in your trailer dozens of times. Bridge is facing extinction. Yeah, I'm going to do my best to avoid that.
Right, that's me too, baby. Me too.
Yeah.
All right, Morris. Well, Mojo, excuse me. I am so grateful for you doing the screening.
Can we explain that? We've been calling me Mojo all this time, of course. I picked up the nickname when I was 15. Morris Jones is my name, right? But it kind of stuck. Mom never had it in mind, but with the word mojo being basically it's pidgin for the word magic. If you stick magic anywhere you see mojo in context, it generally works. But I registered the domain name Bridge Mojo several years ago, and I made that the name of my club. And in any case, I'm still Mojo. More people know my name as Mojo than they know my real name. But so it is my nickname.
All right.
Anyway, yes, it's been a great treat.
Well, thank you so much. I will be in touch about Pasadena, and I look forward to meeting you in person on the 18th.
Me too. I did shake your hand in Toronto, but you shook a lot of hands in Toronto.
Oh man.
We'll see you there.
All right. Thanks for that.
Take care, John.
Bye, Mojo. Thanks again to both of my guests. I had a lot of fun talking to Adam and Mojo, and thank you to you all for listening. And if you're in Pasadena, in the Pasadena area, and you want to see Double Dummy on September 18th, tickets are still available. Also, Adam and I are talking about doing a screening in Boston before Christmas this December. And we've got a New York screening coming up on October 21st. That's in conjunction with Honors. So be on the lookout for Double Dummy coming to your town, or be like Mojo and Adam and host a screening. I look forward to seeing many of you at the upcoming Bridge World Series in Orlando. And I really love it when I get your feedback. I was in Scotland for a screening, and a Scotsman told me that he enjoyed listening to the Migri episode. And then I got another comment at the regional in California about someone enjoying this podcast. So I really appreciate those sentiments. And I really appreciate the guests. And until next time.